Yo. Welcome into the ChrisBeCappinn Show, man. Today is September the 23rd. 2 games in the WNBA semifinals, and we'll get up out of here. Recap of yesterday, not yesterday, but of Sunday, as we always do. I went 1-0 on Sunday. The plays that I talked about on the show were not winning bets. Minnesota, or you could say Phoenix, was going to cover pretty much the entire game, and they let the Lynx close the game out on, I think, like a 15-0 run or something like that. So they covered the first quarter, first half, and ended up not covering the full game. Luckily, I didn't bet it. I feel like live bets are the way to go right now, especially in the WNBA, because things are so, it's still very, very unpredictable in my opinion. But we cashed on Minnesota third quarter, -3.5. They end up winning the third quarter, I think, by 7, 19-12. Mercury offense just really ran out of gas. I think they scored like 22 points in the second half of that game, and they did end up staying under the total. As far as the Aces game and the Fever, I didn't bet that game, but I do have some thoughts on game number 2. So we're going to jump right into it. Hit the like button for me if you can as you join. Definitely helps out the show and the algorithm. And let's jump into it for today. Jackson up first. Jackson had a 1-1 split on Sunday. Nafisha Collier under her 29.5 points plus rebounds was a winning bet. She finished right at 29. So barely got there. Alyssa Thomas under her 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists ended up being a hook on the over. She did end up getting to 33 points, rebounds, and assists. So 1-1 day for Jackson. Today, going right back to it, player props. Jackson likes 2 in the same game. First one is Jackie Young over her 16.5 points. It says she's been on an absolute scoring tear recently, exceeding this line consistently. Over in 80% of her last 5 games, averaging 18.6, maintaining a strong performance over her last 10 games, hitting 70% as well. And it says when playing at home, where today's game is against the Indiana Fever, Young scoring gets an extra boost. She's averaged 19 points, and it's hit the over in 60% of her home games this season. So Jackson likes Jackie Young over her 16.5 points. You can get plus 100 on Bet Rivers at the time of this recording. And A'ja Wilson under her 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This is an interesting one because A'ja has been dominant. Just won her 4th MVP, but she struggled against the Fever, and I think that's where Jackson is going in this look. So it says, despite A'ja Wilson's overall dominant season, her performance in the combined points, rebounds, and assist category against the Indiana Fever this season has been notably subdued. In her 4 matchups against the Fever this season, Wilson has hit the under in 100% of the games, averaging just 31 points, rebounds, and assists. This is a significant drop from her season average of 36.82 points, rebounds, and assists, and her recent strong performance, where she hit the over in 80% of her last 5 games, averaging 40 points, rebounds, and assists, and 70% of her last 10 games, averaging 37.9%. So yeah, Jackson likes under for A'ja Wilson, under 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists for A'ja today. Let's jump into the matchup, man. Again, link, as always, link is in the description. If you guys are interested in checking out Jackson for NFL or NBA that's around the corner, or WNBA that's still going on as well, use the link in the description to save yourself some coin. And let's jump into the matchup. So first one we go to is the Fever and the Minnesota Lynx. Game will be played in Minnesota again. So I failed to mention this on Sunday, but this is not the best of 3. This is the best of 5, right? So home team gets 2 games, higher seed gets 2 games in a row. Then they go on the road for 2 games in a row. And then if the road team can steal one of those, the lower seed can steal one of those games, then they'll come back to the higher seed for game number 5. Hopefully that makes sense. So what we have here is same line, 7.5. This is exactly where it was at in game 1. The total has bumped up just a bit. Game 1 total finished 157.5. Well, it didn't finish 157.5. It went under 157.5, but it closed at about 157.5. Same injury report. Dejanay Carrington being the only person that's out. So interesting game. Game 1 was interesting. I actually screenshotted this because when we get in the playoffs, I typically like to just go back and look at the box scores, compare and contrast what I think is going to happen based off what happened in the last game. And this one is interesting, man, because the Mercury were right there. I mentioned it already. They were 2-0 fighting with the Minnesota Lynx, dominated them in points in the paint, specifically throughout that first half. And in the fourth quarter, they just kind of got their water shut off. Like I said, they only scored 22 points in the second half overall. I am someone who finds it hard to bet overs in the WNBA playoffs because I mean these offenses can be so volatile and just absolutely go on a drought like the Mercury did in the last game. But this one to me feels like it is more a little bit of an over game. 159, you can get a 158.5 right now on BetMGM, and that's what I'm kind of eyeing. I think the Mercury are a solid defensive team. I think they're 5-1 to the under in their last 5 games. Either their offense doesn't show up or the defense shows up. One or the other happens. Minnesota didn't necessarily shoot the ball extremely well in game 1. I mean, 44% is not bad, but they shot 31% from the 3-point line. I think they could be a little better. But look at here. Look, this is what really stands out to me. This 3 for 23 shooting from the Phoenix Mercury for 13%. And this is what we saw in game 1 against the New York Liberty as well, right? It was Satu Sabli, I think, who shot 3 for 17 or something along those lines. 0 for 10 from the 3-point line, something along. The Mercury are like, we don't have to guess who they are. They're a team that likes to get downhill with Alyssa Thomas and kick out spray to 3-point shooters. And unfortunately, they just couldn't make any in this game. You could say that they had tired legs because they were coming off the game 3 victory against the New York Liberty. You know, we're at a rest disadvantage, whereas Minnesota had the rest advantage and we're at home. But I if I'm betting the spread again, I do think that I want to go back to the Mercury. I don't know if I'm gonna actually bet the spread. I feel more inclined to take the over. That's how I feel. I feel like the Mercury will shoot the ball a little bit better. If we go back and look at the Minnesota Lynx, they finished like 7th or 8th in 3-point defense. Minnesota was top 2 or 3 in every category, but they didn't defend the 3-point line well. And a couple of the games that they lost was when teams actually made some threes against them. I go back to the Seattle game that they most recently lost at home. Seattle shot 50% from the 3-point line. I think they were 10 for 20 in that game. And the Mercury are a team that can catch fire from the 3-point line. So overall, I think Minnesota is by far I wouldn't say by far, but I think they are a better team. They're better than the Mercury. I think the Mercury will hang in this one, you know, being there at even rest advantage now. And I think that they can score the basketball a little bit better. I think they'll get up and over the 59.5 points that they got in game number 1. I don't expect them to dominate points in the paint as much as they did. 54 is a lot. And this team was one of the worst teams in the WNBA as far as scoring in the paint. So I think Minnesota limits that, and they make the Mercury knock down some shots from the 3-point line. I do expect the Mercury to be a little bit better. So I lean over in the game from a player from a side or total perspective. I feel more comfortable with the over 158.5 in this one, even though, like I said, I don't necessarily like playing too many overs in the playoffs, especially with the Minnesota Lynx being the number 1 defensive team, and the Mercury are also top 5 defensively as well. So that's my thought process on that game. The next one is the Fever and the Aces. So this line, right where it was in game 1 as well, 9. Total has surprisingly, in my opinion anyway, gone up. 160.5 is what game 1 closed at. And it didn't go over. It went under. Game 2 is now up to 165. You can get some 165.5s right now as this line continues to move up. And if we go back and just look at it, I mean, the Aces were absolutely abysmal in game number 1. They couldn't, I mean, they just really, it was a lack of effort. Whenever you allow a team to come into your home court and shoot 50% from the field in game number 1 and kind of set the tone, Kelsey Mitchell got whatever it is that she wanted in that game. I think she finished with a game high 34 points. And for people who didn't watch, or for people who haven't been watching, Aaliyah Boston is by far the best defender that anybody in the WNBA can throw at Asia Wilson. And for that reason, it made it really, really difficult she made it really, really difficult for Asia Wilson and the Aces to be able to score the basketball. That's why I do like the look of Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young to have better performances. I don't really want to count on anybody else that plays for the Aces to have to go out there and actually, you know, bet my hard-earned money on them doing anything. But yeah, I think that the Aces, what the Aces can be better is just like effort. You got to be able to stop the Fever from being able to shoot 50% from the field. And the Aces haven't been comfortable against the Fever in any of the games that they played so far this season. Even in the win, they didn't cover. So for whatever reason, the Fever slowed down the Aces. All of the games have gone under. I think outside, maybe all of them, maybe one did go over. But I think the Aces will play with a lot more energy and effort in this game. I think they'll limit the Fever from getting to the free throw line. They were out. You can see that they were -5 in free throw attempts. They turned the ball over 2 more times. They let the Fever get out and get 15 fast break points. The Aces went into the playoffs in general, being the 3rd best defensive team, well, number 2 in defensive rating over the last 5 games before the playoffs start. Now they did struggle against Seattle. They lost in Seattle, and they barely beat the Seattle Storm at home. So we have seen a little bit of regression from the Aces. But I mean, I think you can control what you can control. The Fever, for whatever reason, have played really, really well, even shorthanded, understanding that the cards are stacked against them. And I do expect them to continue to, fight and play with some effort and energy. Their team total was a little bit too low at 77.5. I kind of wanted to take the under, thinking that the Aces will bounce back in this spot. Historically, that has been the trend that has been successful. Taking the team that won the first game, a bit complacency after stealing one. Fever have looked really, really good. They won 3 games in a row, and these games came against the Atlanta Dream at home. Then they beat the Atlanta Dream in Game 3 in Atlanta, and now they beat the Aces. So, I mean, these are 2 of the top 3 teams in the WNBA. They're on a 3-game winning streak against them, and really good defensive teams as well. So, I don't think the Fever are this good, but I mean, the Fever keep doing the unthinkable, and the Aces I do expect to be better. Will they win the game by double digits? I'm not quite sure. I like the under more than anything else. I think the Aces can win the game without even getting the 88 points, and I think they'll be a lot better on the defensive end. So under 165 and a half, if it continues to go up, would be my top play in this game. Aces will be a lot better defensively, in my opinion. So that's my thought process. Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray will have to be better. I think Aaliyah Boston will be used on the defensive end the same way she was on the offensive end. She finished with just 6 points in the last game, so 13 and a half seems pretty high. Also, Asia Wilson's the best defensive player in the WNBA. So I expect Leah Boston to continue to struggle, Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray to pick it up, Minnesota Phoenix to go up and over. And then I do think that 165 and a half goes under are my thought processes on the game, man. Use the link in the description if you guys want to check out the resources that I use or the official plays that I do make when I do make them. But for officially, I haven't played anything yet. But I think I'm going to ride with both of those. Probably small to start, and I'll scale in and go small on the plays that I do like pregame, and then I'll be watching the games, of course. So I'll be making some live bets as well. So that's my thought processes on the game. Hopefully it helped you guys. If so, hit the like button for me on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Turn the notification bell on, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy game 2s. I'll catch you guys back for game 3s on Friday.